Okay, update. It's been a bit since that video. Okay, so far regarding all the additional stuff on the controller, actually let me just start a controller because I've decided to make it a little bit different to make more sense somewhat. So now I have, it's more or less the same thing, but let's see the Bezier, yeah, that goes anywhere, and then after which there's now a rotational controller, up, down, okay, that does that and more. Let's see if I can grab the other one. Yep, up, down, and oh yeah, and it does this as well. Oh, that's too far, but you know. And the tip seems to be working, but I think it shouldn't be deviating too much from here. Otherwise you'll start giving that this thing again, but as long as it's in the same plane as the previous point, it should be fine. I haven't got to parenting that to this point yet, but you know, that's probably trivial. Anyway, you've noticed it's actually on a proper octopus now, the one I've shown previously. I haven't rigged the entire thing yet, but this is just a proof of concept somewhat. I don't know, the wire weighting needs some work, but yeah, that's probably something I'll do off screen. But yeah, as I've introduced the first time round, the reason why it's a compound wire on wire is because of this flexibility of controlling it like a Bezier curve rather than having to worry about which point should actually go where on each discrete point on the curve. So everything's working now. The rotations work, the shifting works, this part, actually I shouldn't go that too far, and this works as well. Whoa. Okay, for now I just call it scale, so yeah, a local scale. And yeah, okay, so before I demo how to set up the rig to the actual character, maybe I'll show a few differences I've made to the rig itself. Okay, here we go. I've removed all the clusters. So this used to be a cluster, it's now another wire, so this is really wires all the way down. Okay, let me like open, yep. Each part of this, let's see, I don't think I have it. So this little bit of wire is influencing just a point on the Bezier, and then there's another cluster at the scale somewhere. Yeah, it should be this one. So basically I've replaced all the clusters with wire deformers, because for a wire deformer, every time you make a wire deformer, there's a initial curve that's controlling the deformer, and then there's a base wire that tells the deformer where to start from. If you want to reposition the wire, you can actually move both at the same time, so that the deformer knows where to start and where to end, and both of them move somewhere else, you'll influence the other part of the model. That's something I couldn't figure out for cluster, because I'm probably not looking hard enough, but it's hard to change the initial point of a cluster after it's made. So I'm not sure where to find. Is there a base cluster somewhere? Yeah, so I've resorted to using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 24, 25 wires over 2 wire deformers. So yeah, the arm parts goes to the first wire, and then the finger parts go to the second wire, and then so on and so forth. Here's the Bezier controller for the arm part, this part over here, and that's the Bezier controller for the finger part here. And then these two Beziers will be controlling a result curve which goes down the entire length of the arm, and after which it's rebuilt one last time to a primary wire, I call it. That's the main wire that's going to be controlling the shape of the curve. Yeah, so let's see if I can get closer. So if I move this elsewhere, the points here don't follow the controller, instead it'll follow the even spacing of the curve because of the rebuild node. If I can get the rebuild node, where is it? Okay, yeah, anyway, so all of this, just to walk everyone through the additional steps. So for the rotation, there's the wire locators are controlled by a few things. First thing is finding out where the point of the rotation should be, so that's served by real world locator here, which is just regular locators. Okay, so those locators are there on the controllers itself just to find the nearest point of where the locators are in relation to the curve, so that's served by the nearest point on curve node. And yeah, while I'm at it, I just realized that it's not that hard to create, because if you go to the node editor graph and tab nearest, okay, yeah, so it has that, and oh my god. There are times I realize I'm making a molehill out of an anthill, but yeah, I guess that's just part of the beginner's embarrassment, isn't it? Okay, so anyway, after we get the point, I've connected that to the wire locator, and then that will be the point. The locators will figure out where the point where the wire locator should start adjusting. So let's say if this is the fourth one. So the locator and the nearest point on the curve nodes will figure out where the wire locator should start. Should start with the rotation adjustments, and then for the rotation itself, this part is a bit overkill, but it's just there because the way I set the controllers out is I actually have them. Okay, just keep track of this one. So I have them actually follow the direction of the curve. Why is it not going anywhere? Hang on, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's not right. What did I do? This one. Okay. So hopefully it should. Yeah. Yeah, for some reason when I made this, I needed that scale, and now I save and then I open it again, and then it worked. It works like how it should have worked the first time round, rather than needing the 0.017. Okay, the reason why this is here is I've no explanation for this, but apparently the plus minus average node automatically generates a unit converter node for anything that's not standard, like rotation, and I think color does it as well. For translation it's okay, but for rotation it actually scales the value down automatically for some reason. I kind of wish it didn't do that, but yeah. So now it's working. I think once I reset this, it should work as well. Let's see if I can force this to, yeah, way. Okay, good. So the controller will follow the direction of the curve, and then that will also actually affect the roll of the curve, so it looks a little more organic that way. How it works, let me see if I can explain this. First, I use a motion path node, which is not ideal because, like the clusters I've made earlier, this one is very tricky to handle. I forgot the specifics of it, but what happens is if it's controlling the translate of a driven object, and then you move that path, the object will be offset by that much as well. So can't use that for positioning, but I can use it for the rotation. And okay, maybe I show you everything. Yeah, so the motion path node actually outputs a rotation and a world space coordinate. Okay, so when you rotate or move the motion path, you actually like compound that difference to the output itself to the driven object. So that's very tricky to handle. I don't think it's good for rigging. I think unless I can figure out something that uses that quirk. But as of now, I'm just using it for the rotation. If I can, you can see the green arrow here. Yeah, and then I'm not using the translate at all. If I use the translate on the second set of locators, they'll actually move away and everywhere, and I really don't want to do that, so I just turn off the translation control for them. Before I go on to the locators, I should explain how I set the rotation controller here. Each of these controllers is a child of a group over here. Deselect, I select, and yeah, the controller here is a child of this group here. So the group is actually driven by the outputs of the rotation. I couldn't use it directly because if I were to move the entire rig around, it will actually follow the rotation of the rig. So like if I were to do this, the controllers will actually compound that rotation, so I don't really want that. Wait, hang on, it's already doing that. Yeah, oh no. Why? That's not right, this is number 3. So yeah, what I just described, it's doing it right now. If I do this, it won't do anything. Why? Okay, I'll deal with it later. And then the second compound deformers are the shifting of the points itself. This one. Okay, I actually named them real cars, so I think I'll just carry on like that. This one's just there to adjust a little bit, so if there's a need to move somewhere else, and then the points are like a little too forward or a little too back, I can use this to control. And then there's one more, which is a scale. That's the last one here. The scale attribute of the wire deformer itself. So those, previously I've neglected to connect them to the rig, but yeah, since I had the time, I bothered to actually put them in. So that's mostly it for differences, except yeah, no, okay, that's not just it. I mean, I changed the look of the controllers themselves, so they resemble more like a Bezier controller of a regular Bezier drawn curve, rather than some weird spiky thing that I'm not sure what represents what. So if I were to draw a curve, and then if I want to adjust the curve like this, so it's the same idea for all of this. If this is the point, this is the Bezier direction, and this is about it for the differences. Okay, so I'll get back to you once I deal with the rotation quirkiness. I guess I'll see you in quite a bit. Here goes. That was quick. So I found where I've gone wrong. Okay, I had this locator that's parented to the start of the entire rig to detect its rotations, and as you can tell, I've rotated the main rig and it's not picking up on this because it's a child of the whole rotator and it doesn't have to do any work to move around, so it's still 0 everywhere. So that's actually a waste of a locator. So I'm not gonna remove this here. I think I can remove this now. So what I did is I just wired the entire rig into here. My only concern is if I were to parent this rig into the character rig one level up, it will spaz out again like how I described earlier. So at that point I'll probably remake that, and then I'll just feed it back to the input here. That's something I can fix later down the road if it happens. If it doesn't happen, then that's one less thing to do. So for now, let me correct everything. So I had a order of operations error, and then is it boring? Pretty sure it is. You know, what's one person's zen is another person's boring. Then here, okay. So yeah, I think I should be done with this. Oh, I mean, yes, it should. That's how it should behave if I don't bring everything to it. So the way this works is there's the main mesh. It should move where it's going. The arm rig should cater to the mesh, not the other way around. So if the model has to move, the rig will have to follow the model to deform the arm, like so. These are the controls themselves. So if I move this, the entire mesh of the arm would also move. And then this is the so-called base wire of the rig. So if I move this, it should go the other way. Yeah, just like a normal wire deformer. And that should be it, hopefully. Alright, and these two strands of connections, they are just there to make things easier to select. So yes, speaking of which, I should probably do that now. Should I? I think that should be all. Let me see if yeah, it should. The X here, although this is spazzing out, but yeah, unless I make an IK single drawing, at that point I might as well have made the entire length of this arm. So the reason why it's deforming a mesh right now is because if, as I mentioned, for a wire locator to start working, it needs to be already deforming something, so the mesh is there to fill that role for the moment. And then as you can see here, it's there as a guide as well. I think that's about it for this one. Hopefully I don't break anything. I can find out right now by doing this. Oh, what? Seems to be working. Seems to be working. Yes. And then, yes, seems to still be working. And I think I should reset this 0. And then, yeah. Whoa. Oh, okay. I just had a. Okay, I just had a discovery. Hang on. So, didn't I hide it just now? Anyway. And then this should set. Okay, and here. Yeah, that would need some work, but as for the rest of the arm, it should be more or less done. Yeah, I think that should parent to parent. Have I not hidden them? Okay, yeah, they should be hidden now. Reset, it should spaz out, and then where's that point? 0. Yeah, this rotation, it's still going the other way. I guess that would have to be for now. So now I think I can start showing you how I set everything up. Let me give myself an edit break.